Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for our March installment of Work in Progress. My name is Paige Talon, and I am the events and brand coordinator for the Creative Collective and CultureCon. Huge shout out to today's partner, Miss Larice, for curating such a wonderful workshop for you all, where she's going to help you crack the code to sharpen your resume. So get your pens, pencils, highlighters, paper, iPads, iPods, it all, because today is going to be full of gems. So without further ado, I will hand it over to the wonderful Miss Larice.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with y'all today. I love that everyone is like, we are nationwide up in here. I'm looking at the chat. Um, a little bit about myself. My name is Larice McMillian. I am currently the social creative lead at Facebook. So I run Facebook's Facebook and Facebook's Instagram and Facebook's Threads channel. It's a mouthful. Prior to that, I spent a lot of years in editorial, so my background is deeply in women's magazines. I was with Elle magazine for a long time. I did 17 magazine. I did Girls Life magazine. And I spent my most recent stint in that at Refinery 29 for about 5 years. If I look familiar, you may have seen me on the Unbothered social channels. I'm one of the original founders of that amazing platform that is dedicated to uplifting Black women. Um, so that's just a little bit about me. Today is not about me. Today is about me sharing the little tidbits of advice and nuggets and wisdom that I have learned in my journey um, of doing this for about 13 years now, which is actually insane. And so, yeah, I'm going to open my little slidey, and we're about to get it started. Um, okay, so today we are cracking the code on resumes. And the first thing I always like to tell people, because people ask me this all the time, yes, each application deserves its own resume. The extra work is worth it, though. Trust me. I know so many of my homegirls who were looking this year and even last year were like, bro, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. Unfortunately, y'all, we are in a recession, and the amount of unhired talented people is high as hell. You have competition, okay? And what you won't do, unfortunately, somebody else will. And so we are stepping into this today's programming with the mindset that we're going to have to show up if we want that job, right? And so this is a lot of text, but don't worry, I'm going to talk you through it, and you're going to get to keep this little cheat sheet when you go home. um So, how to tailor a resume. So, mastering the art of the job description, everybody thinks is so hard, or it's like, how do I make sure that it's going to work? So, we know keywords have been it for a long time, but we are only becoming more technologically savvy. So when you're applying to a place, it's not just a woman or a man who's getting this application and thumbing through it. First, it's going through an AI system that's going to pick and say, like, I don't see Photoshop in here, out. I don't see content creation in here, out. And so, what I really like to use is the job description as a cheat sheet. And so what you have here is a screenshot of a real life listing right now for Tarte Cosmetics social media manager. They look in, it might be you. I hope you apply. Um, and so what you'll see is how I have underlined each like necessary responsibility or requirement in a certain color, and I have matched it to what I would say in my resume. Um, so the purple is matching the purple. You'll see there are multiple orange lines, and this bottom line at the very bottom, stay on top of the latest social media trends, is actually orange and blue because excuse me, this one bullet was kind of portrayed here and here. Um, I think that when we see a job description, we don't always utilize it as almost like a playbook for how we need to line up that resume. And this is exactly why tailoring is so important. Like, this is how you could be the best person for the job, but you just may not have packaged your resume in a way that's going to, one, get you through the damn AI, and two, be very clear, very visually like, oh, bet, like, yeah, I'm looking, it's matching. I'm looking, it's matching. Um, it's a little simpler than what people think it is, but it's, just kind of taking what they've written and rewrite it, including the same keywords, like second bullet, craft and edit copy for all social channels, IG, Twitter, TikTok, working closely. I'm on the second bullet, y'all. Um, and you'll see mine. It's not exactly that, but we made sure that we had Twitter and TikTok in there and IG because they made that clear that they needed that. Um, edit, a form of the word edit is still in there as well, because we all know that you can create something and not still have the chops to edit, but we're making sure that that authority is in there. But yeah, I also, I haven't used it a ton for myself, but I've had friends who have taken this and taken the job description and even used Chat GPT to rewrite some of the things into a whole just job description part in their personal resume. And, we have these tools, let's use them. And I know everyone is like, what is this white lady doing here? Is it her mom? It is not my mom. This is a recruiter that has helped me get several jobs in the media industry when I was a little bit younger. I don't know if anybody is old school media in here, but she now runs Ed 2010, which is back where I used to find all of my like, oh, MTV is hiring a social media intern, or Urban Outfitters is hiring a social media intern, or what have you. But I asked her, I was like, do you have any advice for this group I'm talking to today? And this was her advice. She said, your resume should not be an archive of everything you've done in your career. It should be a very tailored marketing tool that highlights the talents, skills, and work experience that most aligns with what you want to be doing next. And so that brings me to this part, which jobs to add and how to do it. So as Chandra said, we only want to add relevant roles. And, I get it. Sometimes, whether you're like just new to the space, you're trying to switch careers, you're switching industries, you might feel like, hey, I put what I could on there and there's not really much else, but I still want to try. And so this is when we get into how to talk about transferable skills, right? Transferable skills is like a buzzword that you'll hear all up and down LinkedIn, but how do you actually do that? So I have this little example. Again, y'all will be able to take this with you today. But let's say you're applying for a role in social media and your resume has one role on there already. You did one little social media internship or fellowship or something, but you feel like you need to add more. I will caveat and say sometimes uh, more is not always better, but hear me out. You remember you had a gig in customer service that taught you a lot about connecting with audiences. Here's how I would finesse it. On the right or on the left, you'll see, excuse me, in this red box, this is a very cut and dry way of saying like, yeah, I did the little customer service thingy. On the right, you'll see how I finessed it to, feel like we're speaking a little bit more about the editorial world that I hope to be in, thinking back to Chandra's advice. How are we trying to tailor for what we hope to be in? They don't need to know that it was at like the Amazon warehouse. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're going to see that it is at the Amazon warehouse, but the way you present it and the way you talk about it, you know what I'm saying? People will read this description and say, oh shit, like, you acted as a community management specialist by responding to audience questions within the brand's prescribed tone of voice. This person can totally answer my brand's DMs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all about how you present this information. I added a second bullet as well: compiled feedback from social media comments and messages to identify areas of opportunity for brand growth. How do you know what to say? Again, you go back to that job description. What are they looking for? And you twist, you turn, you shape your experience to fit what they're looking for. I know it's going to be a lot of people that's like, that's lying, this, that, and the third. But like, again, it is not lying. It is framing. Your experience is valid here. And you did learn something from that. Don't let where you learned it at Amazon warehouse. I used to work at the Amazon warehouse. That's why I could talk like this. Um, you know, don't let that stop people from seeing all of the skills you have learned there. Um, this is something, this is a screenshot of one of my resumes. And I put this on here because sometimes it's really hard if you're a creative to talk about your real job and your side jobs, and it's hard, right? Like it's how do you make all that work within the design framework of what a resume is? And one angle that I really loved is this idea of like columns, right? So as you can see here on the left, I have my freelance clients bullet pointed down the left hand side. Excuse me. My freelance clients, the bullets are a little bit, or the job descriptions are a little bit thinner than my full-time roles, um, for good reason, because I spend a little bit less time there, and my in-house experience is a little bit more built out on the right hand side. This is another look at a friend who I got permission to share. This is how she's done it. She has put, education and things here on the left hand side for freelance clients versus, and she doesn't even get into it that much. She just says creatively, this is the date. Meta, this is the date. And really goes into her experiences in the in-house work experiences section. So I just wanted to share this because this is something I struggled with a little bit, after leaving Refinery, because I started freelancing so much and I was just like, it's going to be confusing to put them all in one big line. And people are like, you had two jobs at once and this is confusing and it looks a mess. It don't fit on the page, but this has really worked for me. And since we're talking about resumes and, how to organize them, I wanted to put in a section about how long, because a lot of people will say it needs to be one page. But the truth is, it's really based on circumstance, right? And so for me, like I'm 29, like I'm maybe last year I started hitting a place where I'm like, oh damn, like I'm not applying for associate positions anymore. Um, you girls looking at the directorship. And how do you change a younger resume to really reflect where you're trying to go, right? And so for me, I decided, and with the sign off of a lot of my mentors, I decided that I was going to use 2 pages because I needed to tell the full breadth of my work. I am blessed to have a lot of relevant experiences. Again, should I have some stuff in there that don't make sense, they could go. And if it makes sense for it to be 1 page, that's also fine. You don't need a 2 page resume just to apply for director roles. But if you do have a lot of experience that is relevant, they need to see how seasoned you are. So do not shy away from 2 pages if you're like me and you're like, okay, I'm making that transition from like associate level to like mid to senior roles. My don't is very simple. This one was hard for me because I was a big interner. I had a lot of internships on my resume when I was younger because I was proud of them, and they had helped get me to where I needed to be. And when I was fresh out of college, I needed that. I needed to show that I had had experience in college. After about 2 to 3 years in the workforce, people don't want to see your internships on your resume. Again, it was personally hard for me to accept, but you want to show that you have post grad experience. We all know internships are a little less rigorous than a full time role, right? Or even like a freelance contract role. And so be okay with letting those go after about 3 years in the workforce. Going back to my first point, if you are fresh out of college, you damn sure do not need 2 pages. It's likely a sign that you're not tailoring enough. Like I had an internship, I think every semester for 2, 3 years, and I still wasn't able to fill up 2 pages. So just, don't be afraid to edit down. And then jobs that are a little too far left need to come off. Like, again, you may have worked at Wegmans for, 2 years on the side in between looking for a job. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you don't need to put that on there. It is better almost to like have those gaps. I know people are like, oh, how am I going to explain this gap? Than to put irrelevant information on there. Visuals. So I am coming at this also. I was a declared graphic design major for 2 years. So my approach to social and resumes and pretty much everything is very design forward. Um, and so people are always a little bit shocked when they see my extra ass with these notes. um, but yeah, like the resumes that are like hyper designed to look like a pineapple or like a pink house or something, like cute, but is it legible? Is it readable? Because we have to prioritize clarity over cuteness, right? Um, and if you are like applying for a more senior role, this might actually be a little bit of a turnoff, even if you're applying to a place like Cosmo, like just because it's Cosmo doesn't mean the whole thing needs to be pink. Maybe some of the text is pink, to highlight certain things, but we don't have to overdo it. How is design complementing or emphasizing things you want to say or shed light on? I tell people this. Some people don't listen. It's fine. I don't recommend wasting space on your resume with a photo. People are going to see you. They will Google you. It's not very often that somebody will look at your picture and say, you know what? That guy is hot. Or like that guy, he looks like the one. You know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, I'm not gonna assume I'm not going to assume that it doesn't happen. Maybe it does, but I personally am like, if your resume is good, the next thing I'm going is to your LinkedIn. I'm looking at your Instagram. I'm all up and through your Twitter. Like, I'm going to know what you look like. And then don't get too crazy with puns and graphics and extra stuff. Again, just sort of emphasizing that this is about letting your work shine through. Um, Resumes can be its own like design case study in and of itself. But when you think about the user experience of the person who is going to hire you potentially for this job, your resume is one of maybe at least 200. They're looking at it at a glance. And it might catch their eye, but if they have to spend more than 10 seconds to find the stuff that they need to find on there, you might not be the one. And that is going to suck, because if they would have kept digging, they maybe would have found out in your job description that you were actually the perfect fit, but they had to look around little like graphics and graphs and that they had to interpret and stuff. So that's just my personal advice. As y'all could see, going back, like my resume is very, you know what I mean? It's color. But again, it is color to emphasize points that need to be emphasized, not just cute for the sake of cute, if that makes sense. Oh, yep, here it goes. This is my resume, both of the pages. It is long. It is the first long resume, 2-page resume I've ever had in my life. We said some Baltimore people was in the house. I went to University of Baltimore. But I just put this in here so you guys could have it, because sometimes it's just helpful to look at somebody else's resume. This is the resume that I got my current job with. It has changed and looked a billion different ways prior to this, but this was my first ever, I like to say, big girl resume. Okay. And so cover letter, yes or no? I am very pro cover letter. I don't think it always needs to be a formal document. Like if you were referred by a friend of a friend or something like that, maybe it's just in the email you send your resume in. For me, I'm like, it's an extra opportunity to plead your case. So I'm gonna take it. This is a screenshot. I may have mentioned this or not, but I was a contract worker at Meta on a different team prior to getting this like lead role that I'm in now. And y'all, I tracked down who was hiring for this role. I'm asking friends of friends. I'm like, do you know? And one of the women who I know really well there was like, oh yeah, it's this woman. Her name is Lizzie. Like, you should hit her up. And so I just straight shot my shot. And for me, this is kind of a cover letter, like it's not super formal, but it is very much saying, like, this is what I do. This is who I've done it for. This is what I'm looking for. Here is more information on me. And I'll let y'all take this one home too. This is another cover letter that I wrote before, where it just very much highlights, not only am I a great like technical fit for a role, like I have the chops, I have the experience, but I'm also a great cultural fit. I think cover letters are an excellent opportunity to show people, like, no, a lot of people can do the job. I'm going to be passionate about this job. And like, keep it a buck, you ain't got to always be passionate about it, but you need to put in your cover letter that you are. One of my homegirls was applying for a job a few weeks ago and was like, but I don't feel that way. And I'm like, girl, please lie. Like, come on, this is work. At the end of the day, we are all talking about work, and nobody dreams of labor. But if you can put your pride aside a little bit just to finesse that a little bit for yourself, you're gonna win. Okay, we're headed towards the end of this part of the presentation. But I put in here how to use LinkedIn to attract roles once you have kind of like a handle on resumes, on cover letters, this, that, and the third. And so this is something I do for my friends when they're looking for a new role, or they have some homegirls who are trying to pivot industries right now, and they're just like, I'm not even on people's radar for real. And this is how you get on people's radar. You get on LinkedIn. You search for jobs that you want, that your dream, that you're like, okay, like, yeah, like I could do that. That would be a nice step for me. That was a good look. You hit the job and you scroll down on the listing to where it says show all skills. You hit that, it's going to open up this type of thing right here. And so what you need to do, I mean, don't flat out just be lying on this, because that's a little blatant. But But if it's stuff that you've done even remotely, add it to your profile. Hit the add button and add it to your LinkedIn skills so that you can start being served these types of roles, so that recruiters can start being served your profile to be like, oh shit, this person has experience speech writing. You know what I mean? Like that. That's exactly what I'm looking for. But again, it's just going back to how you utilize the tools and technology that we have at our disposal to really make this shit work for you. And then after that, repeat. Like, I'll do this for a homie for like 4 or 5 jobs, and now they have a whole skills repertoire on their LinkedIn profile to kind of be found and stand out a bit. And that is my spiel for today. I am gonna hop back in the main chat and just take a look at any questions that are coming out, because I did not look at a single question as I was doing this. All right, bear with. Should you customize? Oh shit, there's so many coming in that I'm like losing them. Y'all bear with me. Okay. The point is curating more of a transformational story, right? The point of curating, it can be if your story is about how you transition from one place to another, but it's also frankly just making it easier for the hiring manager to see that you're the one faster. I hope that answers that question. What's the best way? This is from Sydney. What's the best way to address multiple gaps of employment on your physical resume? Should we address them on the resume or just be prepared to speak to them? I would say just be prepared to speak with them, because if you got the interview, they don't care. It's also like we are in a very interesting time for humans, period, right? The amount of layoffs that have happened to highly successful and credible people. Not saying that that was you, but like um it's high. And so people, it's valid for people to just not be able to find work for a bit. I think what is helpful when I speak to people like this is like, okay, yes, let's go back to my Wegmans example. You were out of work for 2 years. You worked at Wegmans, but also on the side, you did some freelance writing for like a girls nonprofit in downtown Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? That you weren't paid for. And so like be prepared to have some side projects and passionate moments that can kind of offset those gaps, right? And if you don't have any, start thinking about them, like, are you a graphic designer? Are you an illustrator? Yes, you're doing Wegmans for 2 years, but have you created like 4 really impactful like comic strips on your Instagram in that time? Um, Again, work doesn't always have to be for money, for profit. It's amazing when it is. That's the whole point of this workshop. But at the end of the day, life happens. It's about how you maintain your creative craft within those like moments. Okay. What if you had an internship at the company you're applying to? Now, that's a great question. So, I know a lot of people, their internships, like with the company they're applying to, probably, is a little bit consecutive. But if you're like, okay, I interned for you like 6 years ago and I've been in the workforce for somewhere else, um, I've been in the workforce somewhere else, and now it's technically not like super relevant, but you need to know. Put that in the cover letter. Put that in the email. When you send the email, put it in the subject line. I'm gonna flex it. I'll be like ex Viacom intern slash new social lead candidate. You know what I'm saying? Like it might not need to go exactly on the resume if it's old. But again, this is where we utilize our spaces to add extra color. Cover letters in the email. Um, how do you best show a transition in an industry on a resume without making it too lengthy? Again, this is where cover letters and emails really help. I even say like, clearly don't work at LinkedIn, but I'm a big fan. The bio section that they have on there, be honest. You don't have to be incredibly lengthy, but you can say, 12-year esthetician, uh, who recently discovered a passion for filmmaking. I'm just making this all up. And uh, is now seeking entry level roles in this space. Like, again, use ChatGPT to finesse that. Like, my writers in here, y'all are fine. Y'all will be fine with that type of thing. But like, utilize the shit that exists to make our lives easier at this point. Um, Sorry, the questions are coming in okay. What if you have a few years of experience in different industries prior to your degree, then returned to school and graduated with a new industry professional focus? Do you need the previous roles on the resume? Concerned about my resume appearing as if I'm less experienced. Valid. Okay. So I would say it's a little bit of both. Um, It's hard because in your past industry, you worked hard, you did that work, you learned so many skills. But unfortunately, some of those roles are not going to make sense to add. Take care to cut out some of those roles. Keep the roles that have distinct moments of transferable skills. So think about the example we did together on the presentation where it was like I worked in customer service and this is how I finessed it, utilize some of your cover letter to tell that story. Focus on future facing language, if that makes sense. And again, this is like me being like annoyingly honest, but like the tea is that um they're not going to want to hear about the full story, because hiring managers, unfortunately, are just people who also have jobs and shit to cross off their to-do list. And so the quicker you can just get to the fact of like, I'm a person who knows how to do this, 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 and this, that's how you frame that. You know what I mean? Yes, you could spend a line or two talking about the fact that you did a transition, but spend most of the cover letter talking about how you are equipped to do this exact role we are talking about right now. I wouldn't even talk about wanting to learn, because at the end of the day, they're not going to want to teach you. Lie. Figure it out on your own. Literally just be like, I'm equipped to do X, Y, and Z. I hope that helps. Also, I'm sorry I'm coughing a bunch. I'm a little sick today. If you're a small business owner, should you place it on your resume? Yes, you should place it on your resume, especially if you can finesse some of those job description bullets to work in your favor. One of my homegirls has her own what am I doing this for? Handbag line. And she works in social media. And I'm like, do you not run your own company social? Do you not answer customer inquiries for your own brand? Like, those are things that are transferable skills as well. Okay. If we don't have freelance positions, how should we best display any relevant personal projects? Change that section on mine where it's like, what does mine say? Open it back up. Mine says freelance clients. Just change the header to be like projects of note or something. You know what I mean? And put your shit in there. Your resume is all about highlighting. It's really all about highlighting the. Oh my God, I'm sorry, y'all. I just figured out the Q&A thing. I know this CCMYC is like, girl, have you ever used Zoom before? Okay. But yeah, you use the resume to highlight what you want to highlight. Don't put nothing on there that's not going to show a strength, and if your side projects are popping, put them on there. You don't have to call them side projects. Projects of note. I made that up. Use that. Okay. For the freelance client, would you put the influencer name you worked for or use them as a reference? Put the name. In fact, not exactly the same thing, but I work with a girl who runs Mark Zuckerberg's social account. I guess he's an influencer. But but that's valid work, like even like I've done, I don't know if y'all know Sharifa Murdoch, who is now DEI at KIT. Like, that's one of my industry aunties, and I did her social for a little bit. To even just like, not that you're doing social, but you did work for an influencer, but to work for a person brand is incredibly valid. And that's more than a reference, that's a job. Okay. Irish Richardson, girl, hello. Some people use columns when creating a resume, and others advise against it and recommend using a normal up and down resume for ATS scanning. Have you found that it mattered how the resume is formatted as far as getting past the review phase onto the interview phase? So I haven't tested them side by side, but when I was younger and I had a little bit less experiences on my thing, it was just a straight up and down. I was applying for significantly younger jobs because I was just younger in my career. And so I haven't tested it in the same market as the one that has my 2 columns, but So yeah, I don't really know the answer to that. But yeah, I think for me, the columns is like a design solve. Um, and it has worked for me. So they both worked for me at different points in my life, which is not exactly measurable data, but anecdotal testimony. Um, all right. Sydney Watson, what's the best way to address multiple gaps of unemployment on your resume? Oh, we kind of talked about this one. I might have read this one in there, but yeah, be prepared to speak about it in the interview. And also, if like, try to do some meaningful work on your own in those gaps so that when you talk about those gaps, you have a highlight, you have a silver lining. You show that, like, yes, the job field was playing dirty, but I was still honing my craft. What about educational experiences you've had that aren't accredited? Portfolio school, public speaking courses, basic journalism, night school, etc. So valid. Put them on the resume. You'll see at the bottom of mine, I have a section that has honors and awards, and you could easily change that section to post grad education or certificates, even um, continued education. Just create the sections on your resume that you need. You know, I didn't even need an award section until like maybe 3 years ago, so that shit wasn't even on there. Um, but create and name sections based on what you need it to be. Also, like, it's so valid. Like, when you think about people who are switching industries, right? Like, I know a lot of friends and myself, even like when I was going from magazine media girl to like tech media girl, I was like, oh, let me brush up on some like Meta Blueprint courses. That's incredibly valid. Let me brush up on some Google Analytic courses. That's incredibly valid. So please put those on there. um Hi, Sean from Milwaukee. My take on What's your take on graphically designed resumes? What's too much? What's not enough? Personality, is it frowned upon or distracting? Again, everything in moderation, right? So you saw mine. I have a whole ombre rainbow of my name. I'm wearing a whole ombre rainbow shirt now. That's very much me. But I did not want to have like illustrations of like butterflies in the corner. Like, that's when you go too extra, you know? When you're looking at something, that's taking your focus away from the content of the information. And so some quick design tips would be to utilize color or a legible but more fun display type for headers, you know, like I said, I have my section for like in-house, then I have my section for freelance clients, and I have my section for education, I have my section for awards and whatever. um like, maybe that's how you're having fun. You put some fun type in there. Again, not none too crazy, but something that speaks to who you are and like what your vibe is. um Hope that answers your question. Okay, we got a lot of these. I was out of the job market for 10 years, caring for my mother. I also took for my mom for a long time. I feel you. I have some relevant experience, but nowhere near my peers, especially at 39. How do I account for such a large gap in my resume and still get a grown person's job? This is such a real question. I think one, grown person's job, right? Okay, walk with me here. So, a very different situation than yours, but I'm going to use my cousin as a example because I think that the outcome is similar. Um, my cousin, who is a little bit older than me, a lot bit older than me. We went to school around the same time. And because I was a young person, I was able, or it fit better within my young ass lifestyle to be able to do um to be able to do unpaid internships and unpaid work. And he was like, I am grown. I'm not about to do that shit. And I was like, I hear you. He's like, I literally can't. I'm like, I feel you. But um now he doesn't have a grown person's job. He has a job he doesn't really love. And so he missed out on years of viable experience. Again, not your situation, but you both essentially missed out on years of viable experience. And so now I have told him, like, I know it sucks and it hurts, but how do we get you to a place where you're financially able and mentally okay with doing lesser paid work or not paid at all work in the beginning just to get your credentials up? Because even a 3 month fellowship, or again, it doesn't have to be a formalized fellowship. You can talk to your local businesses and be like, how can we mutual aid right here? Like, how can I keep using social because that's the world I live in, but the sandwich shop down the block, can I get some free sandwiches if I do y'all social for 4 months? Because I need some case studies in my stuff. Um, but essentially, like, getting yourself to the point where you recognize that it's not your fault for having this huge gap, but owning what it will take to catch up. It's a bit of a mind fuck. Um, but that is my best advice. Ariana Davis. I have a friend named Ariana Davis. Um, hi. Hi, what would be a good chat GPT prompt that can scan a job description and provide you with what to include in your resume? Um, Again, I'm not as big of a chat GPT girly for this because I do consider myself a writer by craft. But I would say something to the effect of like, what is a resume that is worthy of of this job? Start there and just keep tweaking from there. I would say, like, how would you take this job description and create a resume that's a good fit for it? Is also maybe a good one to try. Chat GPT, you have to try a couple of prompts and see what happens. Um, I have somebody here that also says, like, what advice would you give to those wanting to pivot, but just don't have enough experience in the field you're pivoting to? And again, create those learning experiences for yourself. Again, not everybody is going to be down with hiring an intern or a fellow that is years out of college. That's its own fucked up situation that society needs to fix. But in the meantime, how can you create those learning experiences for yourself? Can you shadow somebody? Can you bargain with the store down the street to help them with their marketing and business stuff in exchange for whatever they got going on over there? Um, how flexible can you be with data on your resume if you don't have a specific number? Um, Definitely try to be accurate, but between me and you, I don't think anybody is going to go to your job and be like, "Hey, are these numbers correct?" So you do with that what you will, friend. Um, that was kind of terrible, but it's true. It's true. Someone else just said, "Do you think data is as important for creative roles?" 100%. 100%. My role is called social creative lead, and my entire bonus compensation is tied to data. That's how to get you. But you know, our graphic designers, even, like you designed a post that exceeded benchmark, that is valid. And at the end of the day, that's what people want. They want somebody who has proven success. Anytime you can prove past success, you are going to have a leg up over your competition. Do, do, do. I'm trying to look for some that I haven't kind of answered already. Is it better to lead with the employer or the role? I mean, I think I don't know that you can really lead with one without the other. Um, like my resume has it listed like Meta content strategist, October 21st to whatever time I left, So um they're all, I guess technically my job, my place I worked was first and then the role. So I suppose that that's your answer. And yes, y'all will get this presentation after this. I actually need to talk to the CCNYC because I completely forgot to blur my phone number out on there. So I might edit that before I send it out to 200 people. Oh, someone said, how long is too long for a cover letter? Mine are always about 3 short paragraphs, and short is in like 3 to 5 sentences, nothing more, just because realistically, who gonna read all that? But also, like, I learned that one giant block of text is also not super appealing. So, someone said, okay, so someone just asked about length again. And definitely, you can do 2 pages if you're applying for like a bigger job, if you're applying for a director or even like VP, more senior, like they're going to expect you to have 2 pages. If you're fresh out of school, you do not need 2 pages, you need to edit. I'm like, how much time do I have left? I think I'm doing okay. Sorry, I'm still reading. I'm just looking for some questions that look like I haven't talked about, because I feel like I've answered a lot of things in some people may have asked in a different way. Oh, someone said specifically, would be curious to hear any advice you have from moving from the magazine world to tech, trying to do the same. Moving from the magazine world to tech, first of all, recognize that there is space for you here. I think when I was at Refinery, I was like, tech, what am I going to do over there? But I run Refinery's social channels, and surely Meta has social channels. And so just kind of opening your mind to that, one. 2, recognize that it is very much a networker's game. I've had homegirls who I've tried to finesse into Meta, and I've hit roadblocks myself. But what I have learned is like, oh, if you have a friend or a friend of a friend at wherever, ask them to find the recruiter for you. That's really key. Like, have them find the recruiter for you, and that will probably shorten your search. I would also say be open to roles like partnerships, which don't inherently feel like very media girl, but they so are. Like, our creator partnerships people, like they're all, I think most of them are all like ex writers and social media editors from like Cosmo and shit, like maybe New York Times. But you would be shocked to see the amount of media people media people who have made their way over to tech. Okay. I think we have time for like 2 more. I'm gonna try to be fast. What do you think is the best format for a portfolio? I usually see decks or websites, but wondering which is the better option in your opinion. I really like websites because I can look at them anywhere. Like I have a work phone. We're actually hiring a video editor for Meta, and I might be running around all day and don't have time to open my computer at that exact moment, but I could quickly be like, okay, bet, move him over. Like that's nice. I like a deck, but I personally prefer a deck for like pitches and things of that nature, things that I inherently am more inclined to spend more time with because I likely know who it's coming from already. I don't necessarily want to read a deck from a stranger or view a deck from a stranger. Something about it just feels a little bit too intimate for me. Okay, and then the last question. I'm trying to make it a good one that I haven't already kind of answered. Oh, my girl Nika. What are your thoughts on the hashtag open to work button on LinkedIn and or announcing your layoff? So I am very pro transparency, just because I think one, I'm one of those corny people that's like, you get what you open yourself up to, you know, like when you let people know what you're looking for, people will start sending you shit. People will start thinking of you. Um, and so that's how I feel about that. In terms of like, oh, I'm formally gonna let people know I'm laid off. I don't think there's any shame in being laid off. Um, I think that we have to think about ourselves as a business in and of ourselves. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, it's true, it happened. It also saves you a lot of time from having to explain it to multiple people over and over and over again. I think where it gets muddy is like when, you know, maybe wait to make that announcement after you've like emotionally processed and cooled off, because I've seen some people like post some shady shit like to their company, like, oh, I was laid off, and like, you know, the person is pissed and they're not saying very nice things. And while all of those emotions and feelings and thoughts are incredibly valid, there are going to be the people who look at you like, their drama, I don't want to mess with them, this, that, and the third. And again, it's not fair. People are emotional, but you just have to protect yourself from the outside world's perception. So definitely announce that you were laid off and that you are open to work. Don't be proud. Do not be proud. I just had a homeboy doing his LinkedIn. He was like, don't put that on there. I look desperate. And I'm like, nigga, you need a job. Shut up. Like, there are thousands of people just like you who are fine saying I need a job, and you know, you need to get yourself in the running. So that's that. Um, thank you guys for coming. I had a lot of fun. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Y'all can, I post sometimes like different, like, oh, I'm bored, I'm gonna do a little Q&A. So definitely look out for those on LinkedIn and stuff as well. I know I wasn't able to get to all of the questions, but I'm glad some of them were kind of duplicates.
Thank you so much, Miss Larice. I hope y'all had y'all's pens and papers and iPads out like I told y'all earlier. But this is great. Thank you so much. That is a wrap for today's work in progress session. Thank you all for joining us. Please stay connected with us for future events. Follow us on Instagram at the CCNYC and CultureCon on Instagram. All right, y'all. See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.